This morning, let's explore manifesting good fortune. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi. This is the Lama you are looking for. This morning, we could chant and meditate and enjoy a lesson or two. But first, if you love Star Wars and you wish to meditate as profoundly as Ahsoka Tano on Lothal, be sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. Once again this morning we could explore manifesting good fortune that you too could meditate like a Jedi. If at any point during this morning's live stream you have a question about meditation, philosophy, or even chanting, do not be shy. Simply type your question in great detail in the chat window on the right hand side of the screen. Now if you're watching a replay, YouTube's kind of funny and it takes away that chat window and replaces it with a comment window below the video. So that's where you'll write your question. Well, it is dark 100 here in Southern California. And so if you are feeling a bit dappled and drowsy, I would invite you to join me in cranking out 2 or 3 repetitions of geriatric step back squat thrusts before a Buddha image, real or imagined. And if you're playful, you might even refer to this as enlightened fitness. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path on the Buddha's example instructions and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path on the Buddha's example instructions and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path on the Buddha's example instructions and students. Whew. That was fun. Let's review the tenets of Buddhist manifesting. The Buddhist manifesting is informed by the by the Four Noble Truths. The first noble truth from a certain point of view is that there are stressors, circumstantial, physical, social, and mental. The second noble truth, and this is the big one, is that the more we live in resistance, the more we try to control our circumstances, bodies, relationships, and minds, the more we make it worse. What are some of the ways we try to control? Well, we resist the presence of what we hate by shoving. We resist the absence of what we crave by reaching. We resist perceived competition by competing. We resist loss by clinging. And these things just take whatever stress we have and increase it. Well then, how do we keep from becoming a doormat? Simple. In the Buddha's Eightfold Path, we're given contemplation instructions and meditation instructions. By implementing those meditation instructions, especially when informed by the 7 enlightenment factors, we practice a form of meditation that as a side product helps us to avoid the two extremes of the two toxic extremes of scattered spontaneity and no spontaneity. And as if those were two adjacent mountains, between them would be the valley where flows centered spontaneity. This centered spontaneity, when our choices and utterances and deeds flow from this place of centered spontaneity, then we're able to dance with the present moment without indulging our controlling tendencies, which is quite lovely. But what has that to do with manifesting? We're going to use 4 principles in this morning's manifesting. The first principle is that instead of wishing for something hyper-specific, we're going to play with one of 4 generalities. In Buddhism, those generalities are known as the 4 bases of mindfulness. Those could be thought of as the circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. So wealth would be circumstantial. Or in other words, circumstantial good fortune. And you might say that's super vague, and the answer is yes, because we are choosing not to be controlling. The second key to liberating us from the tyranny of our controlling tendencies is to avoid for manifesting for just one person, namely ourselves, because that, once again, is very compressing and very controlling. Instead, we manifest for all beings of all worlds, of all universes, real or imagined. And that phrase, we shrink that phrase down to the word all. So, may all circumstances be fortunate. Superstitiously, it's taught that the greater the number of living beings you seek to benefit, the more good karma you earn. Pragmatically, the more you do that, the less selfish you'll be. And it'll give us greater freedom from the tyranny of our habitually controlling tendencies. The second 2 facets of Buddha's manifesting is this. Anybody can recite a mantra. Few people can meditate upon a mantra. To meditate upon the mantra, we must make use of our inhalation, in this case by playing with a loving intention. And then during the exhalation, this is super important, we physically relax as much as we can. This really helps us to let go and to coordinate our naturally occurring physical sensations with our intentions. Now let's refine our intention even more. In Buddhist Tantra, not only do we use mantra, but we use metaphor. Why do we muck about with figures of speech? Because vertebrates on this planet evolved to think symbolically. Our ancient ancestors began simply perceiving. And then after a great ocean of time, perceptions became anticipated and recalled. And this is a very long time before there was such a thing as overt cognition. So our brain is built on symbolic thinking. How does that apply to this? Well, we wish that all circumstances, and we're using lots as a monosyllabic synonym for circumstances. We wish that all circumstances be as fortunate, and we're using boon as a monosyllabic synonym for good fortune. We wish that all circumstances be as fortunate as a real or imagined paradise of a Buddha. This paradise could be described as a pure land, or if you prefer Sanskrit, a vati. And so we try to make our language as concise as possible, because we're going to be reciting this in a few seconds during several minutes from now, during our inhalation. So vati like boon for all lots. And every mammal, every healthy mammal possesses a part of the brain that functions as the hub of their mirror neurons. The fancy word for that is the anterior cingulate gyrus. That is the seat of empathy. So we don't have to force ourselves to feel empathetic. We already are empathetic. All we need to do is use these words to guide our intention along pathways that already exist. A fringe benefit of doing this is that just as the more push-ups you do, the easier it is for you to do push-ups. Similarly, the more we work with our neural pathways responsible for empathy, the more resilient and strong and robust they become. Every 12 hours, I broadcast a live meditation class without any ads. This channel is supported by the generosity of viewers just like you. With your help, this channel could support the next generation of nuns, monks, yogis, lamas, and even brick-and-mortar meditation centers, each replete with a resident teacher and their apprentice. If this speaks to you, you can help out, even for as little as the cost of 1 cup of coffee a month. Just poke around the description area below the video. You'll find links to Patreon and PayPal and buttons, and YouTube buttons to help you join or to super chat, whichever you prefer. I'm going to check for questions, and finding none, I think it could be great fun if together as a team we chanted 6 passages from my adaptation and amplification of the Padmakara group's translation of the Zapatrul Rinpoche's last meditation manual, composed in the late 1800s. Put your child devotion at the doorway of your practice. Give your son renunciation, mastery over the household of ordinary life. Wed your daughter compassion to the bridegroom of the 3 worlds. Consummating your duty to the living, recite this most suitable mantra. Whatever appears is illusion and is no truly graspable existence. Fear of samsara and hope for nirvana are just thoughts and nothing more. If you can liberate thoughts as they arise, that includes all the stages of the path. Applying the essential instructions for liberating thoughts, recite this 12-syllable mantra. Your own mind, aware and void, inseparably is. Take two. Your own mind, aware and void, inseparably is like the mastery of awareness and letting go, known as the Dharmakaya. Leave everything as it is, and fundamental simplicity and clarity will arise by itself. Only by doing nothing will you do all there is to be done. Leave everything invulnerably naked, void awareness, recite this 12-syllable mantra. Let stillness cut the momentum of moving thoughts. Within movement see the very nature of stillness. Where stillness and movement all one, maintain the naturality, spontaneous and uncontrived mind. In the experience of one-pointedness, recite this 12-syllable mantra. By examining with awareness vulnerable, passive, visceral, and spontaneous relative truth, establish the physical relaxation and mental release, revealing absolute truth. Within the physical relaxation and mental release, revealing absolute truth, see how the awareness, vulnerable, passive, visceral, and spontaneous relative truth arises. Whether two truths practices are inseparable from the practices of inhalation and exhalation. True mastery beyond intellect is a state of simplicity. In the view free of hard elaboration, recite this 12-syllable mantra. From appearances cut away the clinging of mind. From mind demolish the layer of fictitious appearances. Where mind and appearances are one is infinite emptiness. In the realization of the one taste of infinite openness that is shared by all, recite this 12-syllable mantra. And now we turn to this morning's primary text. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. The Eightfold Path divides into three unequal groups or baskets. There's a basket of contemplation, of view, which would be the wisdom's right view and love's right aspiration. There is moralities, kind communication, kind conduct, and kind commerce. And there is meditations, enthusiasm, mindfulness, and meditation. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. A metaphor for the Buddha's example, instructions, and students could be known in Sanskrit as Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. It is by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students that we take refuge in the Triple Gem. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path through relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. I would not describe this as prayer, but merely using words to guide our intention or to strengthen our intention. Here you'll notice there are all different styles of doing Buddha bowing. This is the classical Tibetan style. Due to my own personal disabilities, I'm forced to rely on geriatric step-back squat thrusts. You can do whatever makes you happy. Let's seize this opportunity to consider how stress's independence is but an illusion, and is empty of any permanence to grasp for shoving and reaching increased stress. Let's try something for a second. We're now going to play with 4 rhetorical questions. We're going to coordinate the silent and mental recitation of these questions with our inhalation and our exhalation and our relaxation. Whatever comes our way, whether it's external or internal, pleasurable or painful, interesting or boring, glorious or grotesque, whatever comes our way, we can bring into the path of love and letting go. Therefore, everything we encounter is a chance to practice the Buddha's teachings. It's a chance to practice the first 2 folds of the Eightfold Path. And that is a precious opportunity indeed. There has been an unholy alliance between the religious and the ruling class that has existed for approximately 10 to 13 millennia. Teachers who teach that those who are above the law deserve to be and those who are below the law deserve to be are teaching from patriarchy. They're teaching from rigidity, fear, controlling tendencies, elitism, and competition. Those teachers are found everywhere humans gather. Secularly, vocationally, recreationally, spiritually, romantically, you'll always find people like that. Fortunately, you'll often find a minority of people who choose to approach the Buddha's teachings from the standpoint of being flexible, loving, laid-back, egalitarian, and cooperative. These people are in harmony with the book Free Will. Written by a neuroscientist, it explores how peer-reviewed studies have debunked free will. And there are no good or bad people. There are some people who are very, very fortunate, and some people who are very, very unlucky. Allowing our view of humanity to be informed by science makes empathy and compassion much easier. One of the Buddha's favorite tools for letting go was to contemplate death. We see impermanence all around us. We see the impermanence of the seasons. We see the waxing and the waning and the moon, the setting, the rising and the setting of the sun, the swelling and the sinking of our chest with every breath. If going with the flow is the key to peace, then resistance is the antidote to peace. We're going to revisit the first fold of the Eightfold Path in a distinctly figurative manner. We're going to play with 4 more rhetorical questions. We're going to play with melting as a metaphor of impermanence to help us to leapfrog over the tyranny of clinging. We're also going to play with absorption as a metaphor of interdependence to also help us to leapfrog over the tyranny of our competitive tendencies. How could all places blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into this body? How could all bodies blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into this speech? How could all speech blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into this mind? How could all minds blissfully melt into rainbow light that absorbs into infinite emptiness? We come now to this morning's first set of silent meditation, which need not be mysterious. As we inhale, we can silently and mentally recite watching this. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite relaxing. Why would we do that? Each inhalation accesses the sympathetic nervous system, which supports the sensory acuity that allows us to perceive our sensations, flavors, scents, sounds, sights, and the like, as well as perceive our emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. We could do so, we could perceive in such a manner that is vulnerable, passive, visceral, and random. Some call this mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness correctly, the only label we need to ever use is simply the pronoun this. But what are we to do with all this stuff that we notice? During each exhalation, we inadvertently access the parasympathetic nervous system, which supports both the physical relaxation as well as the mental release. So in meditation, we can find ourselves releasing our resistance to the presence of things we hate. We could find ourselves releasing our resistance to the absence of things we crave. We could find ourselves releasing our resistance to the loss of things to which we cling. It's 30 minutes after the hour. Let's meditate. quick edit, do bear with me. The screen's going to go nuts. Don't worry, I will tend to it momentarily. Excuse me. Oh, when is and letting go, please come to this. Ha. Oh, awareness. Let's make sure the screen is synchronized. That's always a good thing. Oh, awareness and letting go, please come to this ground that I may master the Eightfold Path. Oh, awareness and letting go, please come to this ground that I may master the Eightfold Path. Oh, awareness and letting go, please come to this ground that I may master the Eightfold Path. We're going to begin by playing with blending mantra recitation with love. May everyone be free from stress, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness. May everyone have balance free from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging. With whom we invoke the example of the Muni Wise One, like the Maha greatly wise one Muni, yea, of the Shakas we so hard wish enlightenment for all. Through the cause and effect of my practice of love and letting go, may he sentient being of each world now practice with me in unison. As we chant the mantra, it could feel as if golden rays were emitting from a thumbnail sized horizontal 12-syllable mantra rosary at our hearts. Lavishing all man's communication, bodies, and circumstances with wisdom, love, health, and good fortune centered and spontaneous. A one-syllable mantra, also known as a seed or bija mantra, could symbolize the wise mind of a Buddha. Let us lovingly wish that all minds be that wise. The type of communication that creates great love and harmony, whether it be professionally, personally, platonically, or intimately, could be symbolized by a Buddha's mantra. Let us wish that type of loving communication for all beings everywhere. When we gaze upon artwork depicting an archetype of enlightenment or yidam, they appear to be in the peak of health. May all beings everywhere share in such health. When we gaze upon artwork depicting the real or imaginary paradise or Pure Land or Vati of a Buddha, the circumstances depicted seem rather fortunate. May all circumstances everywhere be equally as fortunate. Let us now blend mantra meditation with the wisdom of letting go. May I let go of all circumstances, bodies, communication, and minds, as if they were as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although tantalizing to the eye, could be non-graspable to the hand. As we inhale, the appearance of our circumstances seems quite solid. However, as we physically relax into our exhalation, our circumstances begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a paradise comprised only of light. As we inhale, our forms could feel rather sensual, and yet, as we physically relax into our exhalation, these bodies could feel as if they were as non-graspable as an archetype or yidam comprised only of light. As we inhale, our communication, this communication and the relationships they affect could seem rather obvious. However, as we physically relax, communication and the relationships they affect could begin to feel as if they were as non-graspable as a mantra comprised only of light. As we inhale, it becomes very easy to observe our mind's functions of perception, emotion, intention, thought, memory, and imagination. However, as we relax into our exhalation, mind's functions can begin to feel as if they were as now graspable as a syllable comprised only of light. Oh, love and letting go, please come to this heart. Oh, love and letting go, please come to this heart that I may liberate all beings. Oh, love and letting go, please come to this heart that I may liberate all beings. Oh, love and letting go, please come to this heart that I may liberate all beings. May all mind, speech, forms, and lots have the wisdom, love, health, and boon of Buddha's mythical bija mantra yidam and vati. Having sat for the better part of an hour, it may be terribly refreshing to knock out 2 or 3 repetitions of geriatric step back squat thrusts before an image of the Buddha. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May I liberate all beings by mastering the Eightfold Path on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. May all beings like the Buddha Master being flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, cooperative, and kind. May all beings practice of kind communication, conduct, and calmness, spontaneous and uncontrived. May all beings like the Buddha master the Eightfold Path as well as liberate all others. May each being take auspicious rebirth, complete the Buddha's path, and then help all others do likewise. At this very moment, for the peoples and the nations of the earth, may not even the names disease, famine, war, or suffering be heard. Rather may their kind conduct merit wealth and prosperity increase, and may supreme good fortune and well-being always arise for them. Beginning with Kuntu Sangpo and Great Dorje Changdan to my own kindest Lama. Whatever aspirations they have made to benefit beings, may I accomplish them all. May all beings everywhere plagued by sufferings of body and mind receive a notion of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by sorrow. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil receive rest and be restored. May the naked receive clothing, the hungry receive food. May the thirsty receive water and delicious drinks. May the poor receive wealth, those weak with sorrow receive joy. May the hopeless receive hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all the medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless receive power and the people long to benefit each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too auspiciously remain to effectively dispel the miseries of the world. If you feel I have earned it, in approximately 10.5 hours, we could return to explore ego, illusion, and meditation, as well as chant and meditate some more. Until then, may you and yours be happy and healthy, and if you are as geeky as me, this is the way.